Hey everyone, welcome here and glad to have you along. Did you know that I am now on Locals? Locals is an app where you can build community. Think of it like a modern day Facebook group. There you can get free content. I host morning coffees, some afternoon happy hours. You get tons of bonus content, discounts to programs and functions, and it's the best place to connect with me and the subscription box community as we continue to grow. All the videos are free to watch, and all you have to do is sign up on Locals. And the best place to do that is to download the Locals app and search for The Subscription Box Show or Eric Music, or you can go to the actual website, thesubscriptionboxshow.locals.com, and there you'll be able to sign up for free. Hope to see you there, and remember to check out our new YouTube channel, The Subscription Box Show. Cheers, and enjoy the show. All right, I'm joined today, well, we're live. So I'm joined today with Jake Panavas. He is one of the co-founders of yourprocurement.com. And Your Procurement is actually, you'll see at the bottom of the screen there because our fabulous editor is Junard is going to make sure that's there. But yourprocurement.com is MINT. So if you're listening to this on audio and you want to check it out later on, you can obviously just click on the show notes. But yourprocurement.com. Jake Panavas is one of the co-founders out of Toronto, Canada. So Jake, maybe just before we get started into all I got kind of this episode named Breaking News. So there are some breaking news in the industry that you guys are doing, but for those who've never heard about yourself or your company, maybe give us kind of a snapshot of what you guys do there.
Sure. So I'm the co-founder of Procurement. We've been kind of working within the subscription space exclusively for 6 years or so now, maybe a little bit more, in helping subscription boxes source product. So at the time there was, and there still is, a gap of trying to get reasonably priced product on time as promised by vendors, and we basically handle everything from factory floor to warehouse door. So that includes all the importing, the shipping of bulk product, and the manufacturing and QC of what's being manufactured as well. So we work with about 150 different subscription boxes ranging in different categories of product, everything from pet toys to apparel and everything in between. So we basically help save time and lower risk, as well as lower the cost associated with sourcing product.
Love it. So that's going to also obviously pique the interest of people. And for some of you guys, if the name sounds familiar, the other co-founder at Procurement, Michael Vicker, he's been on the show a few times actually before. So you're going to recognize the name and the product. But the reason we want to bring Jake on, A, he's never been on the show before, but B, there is some stuff that he wants to talk about that has been changing, some trends they've been noticing in the industry. And because they work with so many subscription boxes, they're on the cusp of everything that's kind of going on. So so we're going to kind of talk about everything you guys do. And let's just maybe unpack what you just talked about, Jake, from the sourcing, the production. What kind of subscription box do you guys work with? You mentioned kind of the products that, from pet toys to Try Beauty Box, I've noticed was on there on your website, all these different brands. So you don't just work with Canadian brands. Is that correct? I know there's a lot of American brands that work with you guys just because of right off the bat. Correct me if I'm wrong in saying this. Please feel free to push back on this. Like the exchange rate is a thing between our dollar and the American dollar. So does an American have an immediate obvious impact on the savings just because their dollar is stronger? Does that make sense?
If they're buying a Canadian subscription box, yes, that would be true.
Okay.
I guess in that case, but I guess in terms of where the boxes are kind of dispersed in the world, obviously majority of them are in, as most e-commerce is within the United States. And then there are some in Canada that we work with, some in the UK, some in Australia. But the predominant kind of centralization of those are within the United States, spread across from coast to coast. So there's boxes in kind of almost every area of the United States, which is kind of cool actually. And getting to work with a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses in different areas of the United States and Canada as well. So that's kind of a unique vantage point for sure.
Yeah. So take us from step one. Someone hears about your company. Maybe it's through this podcast. Maybe it's through an advertisement. Maybe it's through something else. It could be a sub summit, anything. They find your procurement company. And then what is that kind of like? What's the progress there? So they reach out to you, and how does that all work out? And does it have to be a certain size? Like I'm sure they have all kinds of questions. What kind of questions let me start with that. What kind of questions do people usually have in those initial first stages?
100%. So a lot of your viewers already may have, or listeners have already may have engaged with us to some degree, but generally speaking, we can start working on bespoke manufacturing at 500-ish units, depending on the item, where that means that we can actually start manufacturing something custom. And as the quantities go up, the more, generally speaking, the more customability goes up as well, or the more things that you can customize on a product, whether that's packaging or certain specs of a product. It does require inherently, this is kind of one of the breaking news elements we wanted to talk about. It does inherently take a little bit longer to do than sourcing stateside, actually quite a bit longer, because you're manufacturing bespoke. So just on some, I know we wanted to touch on some lead times on that. Generally speaking, outside of times around Chinese New Year's, as that does get a little bit wonky with timelines, or any situations that may arise in global logistics, as COVID had some port delays and whatnot. That obviously also was kind of an unprecedented time as well for logistics. But generally speaking, our lead times are about 40 to 50 days to manufacture a product, and then about 45 to 55 days to ship that product by sea. If you're going by air, and generally speaking, air would be for things that are smaller or lighter, as they don't require a lot of volume or weight, which is where the kind of the cost gets associated with air shipping. You could maybe shave that down to about 10 to 15 days by air. However, it is usually for larger volumes more economical to go by sea. So what this has actually led to is people having to predict quantities far out in advance. And that can sometimes be challenging. So we acknowledge that for sure. And it is difficult to say how many items, or, how many, subscribers am I going to have in, I guess that would be 4 or 5 months.
That's right.
Kind of challenging to say, right? With things being pretty uncertain. So what has happened in the industry is I think with even outside the subscription box industry, is that a lot of people over-ordered. So a lot of people had over-ordered stock and are sitting on excess inventory that they don't have subscribers for. So there's a few things that we've done that some are just strategies and some is an actual physical solution to help solve that problem. So we think one of the most important things that a box can do is reuse excess inventory. So if they have inventory from, and it depends on how their subscription is actually managed and what platform that's on, because it's not as easy on all of them from what I understand. But if they have inventory from 9 months ago, let's say, and they have maybe 25% of their subscribers are new from that 9 months, maybe they're 8 months onwards where they're new subscribers. There's really no reason that, that they can't get that old inventory and repurpose it and position in a way of maybe it's the best of the best or our favorite picks from the past or whatever it may be, to help reduce the inventory that's on a subscription box's balance sheet. Even slightly, it does help. So every new subscriber that comes on would be getting a box from the past. And you can spin that in a marketing way, which isn't definitely my area of expertise, but you can spin it in a way that makes sense so that subscribers are feeling like they're still getting the same experience, or maybe even a better experience, but are getting that excess inventory. So that's something that we've seen definitely work to help reduce that. And then second, which is the breaking news, I guess you could call it, is that procurement is actually launching on this podcast, technically, a new platform for subscription boxes and other e-commerce individuals to buy and sell excess inventory. So the site is called statesidestock.com. That's statesidestock.com. And it's powered by procurement. And basically on there, we've got, multiple, over 10 different boxes and different e-commerce companies inventory on there to start as a kind of a beta. That we have over 1,000 individual products that people can purchase in bulk and actually go on there and request a quote. And then we'll get back to them with what the pricing looks like. And these are things which we're very excited about, that we can get them in probably about 2 weeks' time. So rather than the historic 4 months lead time, we can do this in about 2 weeks. It's basically already stateside, hence the name. So it's in the United States landed. It just needs to be shipped from one warehouse to the other. So it's helping on two fronts, which is alleviating the pressure that subscription boxes and e-commerce face with holding excess inventory, but then also alleviates some of the need to predict quantities a little bit, as well, as you're able to say, okay, well, It's July 26th today. I'm shipping on August 10th. I have whatever that is, 15, 16 days to do so, or a little bit more than that, I guess 16 days to do so. Let me go on the site and see what I can do, because I know I need 475 items, not 500, not 450. I need 475. So that variability of how many are going to be excess is going to be significantly less, as opposed to having had to order 4 or 5 months prior to this in order to get that inventory from overseas. And I think one of the key differences between this and going traditional wholesale is that the pricing is subscription box focused. So we understand, having been in the industry for as long as we have, that subscription boxes are very price sensitive. There's certain metrics from price to retail value that are important, where some traditional wholesale models they don't get, or if you're buying directly off a brand, it's not possible, or they won't be able to understand it or want to maybe sell at that price point. But margins are very, very tight in the subscription box world. So all of these items on here have, in the case of pre-launch, have actually come from other boxes and other e-commerce stores that understand that. So it's a way that you can be, sure that the pricing is going to be relatively competitive. And again, something that you can get in basically, whatever stateside shipping is, so about 2 weeks or so from door to door. So.
Yeah, that's fascinating stuff. Well, thanks for sharing that with the listeners and viewers. I mean, this is pretty cool stuff. So let's break it down into layman's terms here, because there's a lot to unpack just from this launch. So the statesidestock.com. So make sure, Junard, that's on the screen there as well for the viewers. And we're going to have those in the show notes. So in layman's terms, is this a mix of, is this basically another kind of a fair or a tundra where people can go buy stuff? Or is this more, I guess my question is, just to make sure I'm clear on this, is this something where I have some stuff from you guys, I got excess, I'm going to put in this and on the site for other people to buy? Or is it something that you guys have seen products that work well in the subscription boxes in the past and have these kind of products on the site already on the stateside, so people can just kind of go pick at them like a Fair or Tundra, but instead of it being individual manufacturers putting their stuff on a Fair, like say I want all of my Louis and Leia products on Fair for people to buy wholesale, they would get. Are you tracking here what I'm trying to unpack? Okay, cool.
So it's a bit of a combination. So these are things that have worked well in other subscription boxes or other gift boxes, let's say, that some of these companies are sitting on some excess, right? Like we just discussed earlier, how that's obviously a pretty prevalent problem in the industry. I bet you every single subscription box has some amount of excess inventory. And that's basically being put onto this platform where other e-commerce and subscription boxes can purchase that inventory. So if box A has an extra 5,000 pens because they overordered, or maybe even 500 pens that they overordered, that we put onto the site at a price that they're willing to sell it at. And somebody else can come along and say, I want to get these pens because I think they'd be great and I need them in 2 weeks and they can work for my box. Or it can work for my e-commerce store or for my resale business. So it's kind of a combination of both items that are kind of winners and items that are on overstock that would work for subscription boxes. And I think that's what's kind of unique in this, is that different than Fair or whatnot, is that you kind of got to gauge the size of the product. Like, is this going to fit in my box? Does this weight work? And though everybody has obviously unique weight and size restrictions, most of these things on the site have been in other subscription boxes. So they inherently, or gift boxes, so they inherently will work for the size restrictions of a standardized subscription box, barring obviously any unusual circumstances where maybe somebody made a custom box for a specific item or something like that. But most things are pretty small and compact and have a high retail value, as that's what is the standard for this community. So we've had a lot of success, even just selling inventory kind of more manually by sending out line sheets and whatnot over the past little while. So we decided to kind of go full throttle with it and put it on a platform for everybody to get access to it. And it does lower the MOQ a little bit as well. And getting some more of those startup boxes in there and being able to, perhaps get some better pricing at 100 or 200 units of a few things rather than going wholesale. So definitely I want to be very transparent with the drawback with this, which is kind of obvious, which is obviously customization isn't going to be as strong. So you may be looking for a nice winter item for your December box, or a nice winter for your December box, winter product. And you might have in mind, I really want to do a nice scarf. I'm obsessed with this scarf. I want to do a blue scarf. I don't know how many I'm going to need, but if I want a blue scarf, I'm going to have to go in production basically now with it to get this here on time. So I'm excited about it. Well, are you going to need 1,000? Are you going to need 700? Are you going to need 1,200? It's very hard to tell. What may be a better solution is going on here and taking a look at some of the items that we have in the winter category and picking maybe a beanie that's even more favorably priced at the quantity that you need it. Yes, it may be a different color than what might go with your box, or you might have to be a little bit accommodating, but you might save significant amount on the individual item, but then also save on the amount of quantity that you're ordering and not have excess of your own. So this should hopefully reduce the problem over time in the industry, as people are going to be able to order what they need and kind of at the JIT, just in time, rather than kind of the ordering out in advance. Still a need for that for sure, especially with bigger boxes who need 20,000 units or something. But for some of the smaller startup boxes, for sure, and even the mid-sized boxes, I think there's opportunity to find a couple of products on here and not have that excess inventory problem become exacerbated.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for breaking that out, because I was going to ask you, like, does this cater better to smaller, bigger, mid-size? What's the target market? It looks like there's probably something for everyone at some point. Maybe at some point where you're too big, you're just better off manufacturing it with a company like yourself, right? To do it that way. The stuff in there, so there's going to be some labeled stuff from other boxes, because let's say, for example, Louis and Leia, we have, a bunch of, whatever, Muslim blankets, and it has Louis and Leia on it, but we have excess. We put it there. Do people care like that it would have that on there? Or is it just kind of, you're trying to keep this stuff generic? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So some of the items are, actually, I should say most of the items are not branded with a box. They're actually branded with a third-party brand or generic or what have you. There are some items obviously on there that are branded with a subscription box's name on it. And that may be everything from, like my t-shirt here, let's say, that says procurement, which you can't change, or it could be something like, a mask that just has a hang tag on it that says the subscription box's name. So you can get creative, and maybe it makes sense to just cut that name tag off and repurpose it as a neutral mask in your box or what have you. So it really varies. That will definitely come out in stage 2, probably of the launch, hopefully. But for the time being, it's going to be more of a manual process of just talking with the interested buyer about what those items are specifically, because we all have over 1,000 products, ranging from 100 units to 10,000 units per SKU. So it can be a little bit difficult to put all that information on there in kind of the first launch. So, but definitely down the road, and we do have that information, we have access to it. So we just need to be able to communicate that to the interested buyer. But
okay, cool. So I'm going to talk about shortly how to apply to put your stuff on there, how to get it. We're going to even do a tour of the site for the viewers. We're going to kind of go, I'm going to share, maybe we'll get, I'm going to share the screen here, but as I'm setting that up, I want to also remind people to please, this show has been sponsored by Liam Brennan's Subscription Box Experts Academy. So if it's something you're looking to grow your box to that, 10,000 plus 20,000 mark, there is a learning curve, folks. And the best way to do that is to learn from those who have been there before you. So yes, this podcast, for example, is a great resource. You hear from people like Jake and experts in the industry. There's another way of doing it is by taking a program, and you might, look at a sticker price, for example, of the course, which is $997, and think to yourself, well, I don't have $997 to invest in a program right now, but I would counter in saying, you're going to pay now or pay later. So you're going to pay now on your mistakes, your paid ads or whatnot, or you're going to pay with a course or a program. So learn from the best, get tied in with people, network within that community is a great way to do that. So for those who use the link in the show notes, whether on YouTube or on the podcast or through the locals community, you're going to get $50 back for myself. I'll pay you $50 back for taking that, for supporting the show and using the affiliate link. And if you're not sure, you're just unsure if this is a fit for you, just reach out to me, eric@thesubscriptionboxshow.com. You can email me and I'd be happy to help out with that. Also, speaking of YouTube, if you haven't already checked out the new channel, please go and do that. Please go and check out the YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and like the videos you're watching. It really helps. It's a brand new thing we've just launched. I think actually Michael might have been one of the first ones on there as well. So we're just trying to get the channel rolling. I'm not putting any paid ads towards it. So it's just a really slow organic growth. So I'm really relying on the podcast listeners to please go and check that out. And the locals community, lastly, if you haven't checked out our locals community, check that out. It's just thesubscriptionboxshow.locals.com. We get post-show wrap-ups there, exclusive content that is only found there. So, and we just have a lot of fun there as well. So morning coffees, afternoon happy hours, that sort of stuff. So go check that out as well. It's free to join, or you can become a supporter for $5 a month. So with that, do you want to take over the reins on the Jake, on the screen share? We're gonna go through the site. So I'm gonna kind of like, for those who are listening to the show, don't worry about it. I'm gonna kind of like talk about it. But if you're interested to kind of see what this looks like, make sure to watch the YouTube channel as well. So I know you put in the password. Do you want to kind of like, I've allowed the screen sharing if you want to kind of like drive?
Yeah, I think my screen share has been a little bit finicky on Zoom actually. So if you're able to do it, I can kind of walk you through it.
Okay, cool. Let me just quickly do this here. I'm going to set this up first. It's just stateside, right? Stateside stock. All right. Can you guys see this? Jake, can you see this here?
Yep.
Perfect. That means everyone else can as well. So lead us through here. So we're on statesidestock.com, powered by procurement. Love that. So once you come in here, what's people are looking for? So if can anyone use that password? Is it something you guys provide? What's the first thing? You go to Stateside, you sign up with your email. It's technically not launched yet, or it's sort of launched. I thought there was a wait list there.
Yeah, a bit of a soft launch. So yeah, I think they got to sign up with an email, and then we'll get a notification and some of the instructions to sign on. So from there, basically, you're able to kind of peruse what we have. So there's, what is there, about 8 different categories here or so of things that they can kind of go through, and then I think it's over 1,000 products that are on here. So you want to just take a look at, for instance, apparel and accessories.
Sure, let's click on that.
So maybe you're looking for your August box and you're in a bit of a pinch, or you want something that works for a female-oriented subscription box, let's just say. So, there's some things here that are actually on sale, meaning that they're probably below the standard price that most of these subscription boxes are going to sell at. And that may be because the seller is really motivated or just wants to get rid of the stock that they have or what have you. Yeah. So in this case, if they're interested in, say, okay, that band's twisted headband, that looks kind of cool. So they can click on it. And it should tell them a little bit of information about it. How many we've got left?
800 left in stock, it says. Yeah,
800 left in stock for this. And this stuff moves quickly. So it can be on here one day and it can be gone the next day. I mean, we're moving inventory kind of pretty heavily just because we do have a lot of subscription boxes that we connect with on this. So it gives you some basic information. So this particular one here is, scroll down a little bit there. I can see what the specs are on it. So it's 4 inches wide, quick drying, one size fits most, unisex, 80% polyester, 20% spandex, twisted headband with a knot in the front for a stylish accessory for any occasion. So it kind of gives you an image there what it looks like. So if you want to get a quote on it, obviously that's going to depend on the quantity for a variety of reasons, but you put in the quantity that you want. Let's say that you want maybe 100. I think you could type it in, Neil, so if you wanted to.
100 there,
and then you just add to quote. And then you would enter in your name and your email, and this should actually be auto populated. It does ask you for for an address so that we can get the full shipping price to you as well.
Sure.
And then, which is fine. You can, leave that, whatever, for the purpose.
I'll put it straight at 44. Don't know.
And then it asks you for a little, how did you hear about us?
Oops. Let's put in the product, I guess, everything in.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's probably okay there, just for the purposes of this. But yeah, generally a whole address.
There you go.
And then, you can put in the referral exactly, and then just submit request at the bottom there. Should hopefully. There we go. So you can continue shopping, and it should automate basically that you've already submitted it, I hope, and then you'll be able to not have to enter that information each time. Or it should also generate a basket if you just add to quote and come back later. So working on that specifically, just again, launch that today. So anyways, when you go through this, that's one item. We're going to get a notification and say, okay, this individual is interested in 100 of these. We'll get them a quote. We have your shipping address. So within basically 24, 48 hours, you'll get a turnaround on a quote and say, hey, we can get this to you for this price. Are you interested? And then, kind of go from there. Or if you have any questions about it, you'd be communicated, we'll send you that quote. You ask us any questions you have on the product as well. So it kind of gives you, like I said, if you want to go to a different, what else do we have here?
Let's try clearance here.
Clearance,
what's on clearance? Everyone likes the clearance bin here.
Exactly. So these are items that, again, people are extremely motivated to sell. So I personally think, box agnostic. I think there is something on here for everybody. So I encourage all subscription boxes out there to definitely come take a look, just because there is a lot of stuff on here. Again, over 1,000 different individual SKUs. So everything from umbrellas to beach bags. We've got wheat straw utensils. Those water bottles have been a pretty popular product as well. On the left there.
Which ones? Sorry?
So a lot of different, the Hey Beautiful water bottle.
Oh yeah.
Sticker sets, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, there's pages of this on this particular section. So again, feel free. People can go on there and kind of just take a look what's on there and start adding things to quote, and we can get you some information on pricing, or just email us and say, hey, I'm looking for these 5 things. What can you do for me? Whatever. And we'll get back a price on those items. So,
so as I'm scrolling through, folks, for the listeners here, like I'm just going through page, like on the clearance, for example, there's like 5+ pages or whatever. Excuse me. So I was just kind of like scrolling through here, and there's like all kinds of different products from like he was saying, like you're probably going to find something for you here. And now, what is there a reason why you just don't put the price on there? Because it'd be kind of fun. It's easier to maybe, and feel free to push back on this. There's obviously a good reason for it, but like why there wouldn't be just like a maybe it has an MOQ price, and then something like you'd see not to compare you to Fair. It's not the same thing, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, the reason that we had a big debate about that, but the reason that we didn't do it is just because there's too many variables in the pricing on this. So the quantity, for one, would be difficult to make a determination, and then mostly is the shipping. So it's very hard to predict because we don't have necessarily all the specific information for every 1,000 individual items that we have on here and how much it would cost to ship to different zones in the United States. So it's a bit more manual of that process. So we didn't want to put in there a price and then someone says, oh my God, the shipping is, it wasn't included. I didn't know that or something. So we just figured let them come to us and ask for a quote. And again, largely if you're buying 5 or 6 things, it may lower the price even further, as opposed to if you're just looking to buy, let's say, that mint ice cream scoop or that mine ice cream scoop, that's there. So if that's the only thing you're buying, your prices may be a little bit different than if you bought 17 things or we're asking for a quote on 17 things. Just largely because of the shipping, especially if they're shipping from the same location, maybe they're shipping from different locations. So it can be a little bit of a puzzle to put that together on the front end. So we wanted to make that a little bit more manual so that we could get it as accurate as possible to our clients. So
yeah, you got bottle openers, there's coffee. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here.
Yeah.
And typically, like you're saying, it's stuff that's going to fit in boxes. Like there's typically a size of box people want to kind of use to save on shipping. And then this stuff is mostly going to fit in there. Like I'm just on page 4. I'm just going through the pages, folks. Now, okay, let's say somebody wants to buy. We know how to do that. You put in your quantity, you put in your quote, you're going to get back to them, within a day, kind of a thing. Now, I noticed there's a search bar. Can you kind of like search for anything as well? Let's see what to, search for something. How in depth is that? Let's say I wanted, hat.
So they do have meta tags that, again, work in progress here a little bit, but that should populate some of them. I wouldn't, some of them may not be properly allocated to kind of the obvious search results. They may be under a different meta tag or what have you, but yes, there is a search bar there as well, but the categories are probably the best way to go in terms of searching. So if you know what you're looking for, there's a lot of fitness items on here, for example. So
yeah, I see that.
Maybe you want to do, and you can also what could be really interesting here is also building a box around the items that are on here because they're so competitively priced. So if you're like, I'm a female subscription box and I do everything from outdoor to desk items to fitness. Maybe you want to go on here and see, wow, there's a lot of cool fitness items. I want to build a box around fitness for October. You know what I mean? So When you do that, you can go on and pick your 4 or 5 things right from here and get really strong pricing on them, and then be able to basically build out an entire box from inventory that's already landed in the States. It's extremely competitive pricing, which is the key here. It's not just, unlike other wholesale websites where you may get wholesale or maybe slightly below wholesale, you got to negotiate. All these things are really competitively priced. Because basically what's happened here is that larger subscription boxes have purchased these items, potentially in some cases, and are now have a little bit of excess. So they may have bought 50,000 units, let's say, and they've got an extra 1,000 or 2,000 units left over. So when they bought them, the pricing that they got on them was very competitive. And now they're putting those 1,000 on there that may be at relatively the same price that they bought them for. So it's really an opportunity for smaller boxes to be able to find some really cool stuff on these sites. So
Yeah, for example, what he's talking to, I don't know if if you're listening or watching and you've been on a fair, for example, or a Tundra. What these are, there's wholesaler sites. So let's say, you can have a product sell at, retail, your MSRP is $20. Most likely you're going to find that product on those sites for $10. Basically cut it right in half, 50%. That's usually, and sometimes a bit less. It might be $12, where you're getting a 40% or kind of thing. So, but you're not going to get better than 50. Rarely. I don't even know if I've ever seen it. So you're paying $10 and you can still get it delivered to your door, and mark it up as a $20 product and make it 50% wholesale. But those people did not pay $10 for that item. They maybe paid $2 for that item, or $1.50 or $2.25 for that item. So they're making, as the middleman, they're making money on that product as well. I think what Jake is trying to say here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is these are, that let's say I'm the manufacturer at Luna who bought 10,000 of these things. I would have paid $10 or $2 each for them. I just want to recuperate the cost of my product. I'm going to sell it back for $2 or $2.50, maybe, to make a little bit of money on it on the site, rather than put it on a fair, for example, that would have been a $10 thing. Does that make sense, Jake?
yeah, exactly. So somebody who bought a bunch of this at manufacturing cost, or even wholesale at larger quantities, are likely to have had better pricing than you would get at smaller quantities. Not always, but largely. So yeah, it gives there a bit of a double-sided opportunity for people to offload and then to also purchase at good prices. So yeah, and I mean, I encourage everyone to come take a look at it and just kind of peruse and try it out. And again, work within our slight kinks in here in the pre-launch here, as we're just launching this literally today. So we will work these out for sure as we go. Yeah, this is our kind of our standard site here that we're going to eventually have a link to the stateside stock on here as well. But this is our traditional model of, again, manufacturing overseas, which again is still, there's still definitely a need for that. I just think that for smaller boxes specifically, I think there's a large opportunity to be taking advantage of everything that's already stateside. So
yeah, so essentially these are products that are made for subscription boxes, folks. And that's why I put it up as breaking news. It's not clickbait. It is what it is. Like, this is pretty breaking stuff. Like, we've never had something in this industry where you can get it at such a low price for a subscription box. Typically we're paying a lot and margins are tight. We started off, for example, like, I wish this would have been here when we started, because when we started, there was only Fair and Tundra that you could kind of get. And I'm not picking on those. They got a great system as well. And there's something there for people for sure. But it's still pretty pricey if you're trying to get some quality items in your box and you're paying, $5 to $10 for each item. It can add up where you're, in your box is a $30, $40, $50 box. And, you're trying to include your shipping in there. Margins are tight. And not to mention your costs of your acquisition, your customer acquisition costs. It gets really, really slim margins really fast, even when you're paying a wholesale 50%. So this is a place where, I strongly suggest go check it out. You're probably going to find some cool stuff for your box, and it's a great way to save a ton of money. And like you said, it's brand new. So be patient with them. If you got it, I'm sure you guys are taking back feedback as well. The best way to do that is probably to go back to the yourprocurement.com. Is that the best way to contact you? Is there a contact on the
there should be a contact us, whether or not that's getting updated as we speak or not, but no, there isn't. So we can go to your procurement. There will be eventually a contact us on here. Yeah. There may be one somewhere hidden on the page that we need to get access to, but go to your procurement and there's definitely a contact us there, yourprocurement.com, or just email one of the team members, Jake, Michael, Courtney, etc., at yourprocurement.com. So
Cool.
either one of those works, but yeah.
And I love that you have your country region here at the bottom of the page at statesidestock.com. You can like put your, if you're in the States, you can put, USD. If you're in Canada, you can put CAD for Canadian. If you're in Australia, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. We put that in just as a kind of fail. I know the pricing isn't necessarily listed, but it should, it might give you some different vantage points if you send a quote or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. So, we're also always accepting new inventory. So if people have excess inventory of probably, I'd say, over 150 units per SKU that you want to offload. So we can't really do it with like 20 items, but if you have a couple hundred units that you're trying to, I haven't sit on this for 6 months, I can't sell it, email us, and it might be something that we may be able to put on there. Definitely come check it out. Email us and engage with us, and we'll definitely be able to help you get some product, whether it's in the long term or near term. Take a look at the site and see if anything can work for you guys.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how do you apply to put your stuff on there?
So the application process is, there is, we did want to soft launch it with the 1,000 products that we have on there, just to kind of get some feedback. But as we go, send us an email and say, hey, I've got, this many items at this many units per item that I want to try and sell. Is this something you can help us with? Basically. And then from there, we'll either give you the form that you need to fill out, or we'll engage via email or phone call just to learn a little bit more, and then get those products uploaded if it makes sense for everybody. So definitely always taking new stock as well. Definitely engage with us if you have excess inventory. We also do a lot of manual selling in the background as well. So we've done, quite a bit of volume just kind of on the back end of selling inventory via email to contacts that we have, with line sheets and pictures and things like that. So a little bit more of a manual process, but we've moved inventory that way as well. So it's definitely a proven concept that it works, and that there's a definite need in the market right now for this.
So it's something that they would ship from their own house. So it would be kind of like a digital transaction in the sense, or am I physically shipping my 200, items to your warehouse?
It's all drop ship basically. So okay. Wherever the items are located, whether they're in, Florida or California, New York, wherever the items are actually located is where they're being shipped from. So that's where that, you were asking before, why isn't the all-in price there? It's not the reason. It's because they're located all over the United States. So determining shipping prices from different locations to different locations can be quite the algorithm. So basically what we did was, it's all going to be drop shipped. So you come in and you say, I want, this beach roundy or this water bottle that may be located in Florida. And I also want this beanie, which may be located in New York. So they may be coming from different places. So we're going to calculate those costs and give you the landed costs that it would be, including shipping and everything. So I think it's, so if you're uploading your own inventory, you want to put your own inventory on the site. Basically, you would be expected to then ship it out if we do get the order from wherever it is, whether you're fulfillment center or your house, in bulk. Again, this is all bulk. It's not for individuals. So by that, I mean, a few hundred unit MOQ type of thing, or 100 unit, 200 unit MOQ, depending on how many items you're ordering. Those would be shipped out to the purchasing party direct. So nothing's being held by procurement. It makes it really lean. It keeps those costs down, to be able to get the best and most favorable price to our clients.
Yeah. So for example, let's say I'm trying to offset some Louis and Leia stuff. Can I decide my MOQ? Like I say I want minimum 50, like I'm okay with 50, or do you guys have a standard? Like it's got to be 100 or it's got to be 200. Is there something where in the pricing, do I negotiate the pricing? Is it something you guys suggest? How does that work for those two?
Yeah, so both of them are, obviously you guys own the product, so it's really up to you guys. We will give our recommendations in terms of what we know will work versus what won't. So if someone says, oh, my MOQ is 1,000 units, it's like, well, you're going to be really limited on the amount of buyers of that, right?
Sure.
Maybe lower that a little bit, and maybe they want to get, they bought the widget for $3 and they want to get $7 for it. And what a great way to drum up some profits. Like, well, you're probably not going to move the item because there's competing items on there that are cheaper, right? Or that you can get in the market at a lower cost. So you want to be really competitive with it. And some people are selling below the price they bought it for just because they want to recoup it. So in some cases, there's really good steals here for product for people to be able to get it at below purchase price, which is really cool. That people are acknowledging, hey, I've been on this thing for 2 years. I haven't sold it. I've got an extra 400 units. Let's throw it up there at 50 cents on the dollar and see what we can get, or maybe 80 cents on the dollar. So some really good opportunities. And it's a little bit of a, I want to say kind of gamified. It's like mining for opportunities. You go through, maybe you really fall in love with a product on the site, send us an email, and you find out that it's, 80 cents on the dollar from what it should cost on the cost. I'm talking, not on the retail. So maybe something that retails for $40 costs $5 to make, $4 to make, $6 to make, depending on the quantity. Maybe they're selling it for $3 because they just want to get rid of it.
They want some cash flow back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So tons of opportunity on there. Definitely engage with us via email or go on the site and just kind of start perusing and filling up your basket. And again, filling up the cart does not mean that you're going to be buying the items. It just is a request to quote. So unlike other traditional e-commerce sites, I want to make that kind of clear. It doesn't mean that you're now going to be asked for your credit card information or something like that. None of that happens on the site. It's strictly a way for you to communicate with us what you're looking for. So you want these 19 things to be quoted, we'll go out and quote those for you, send you back a quote request, and or not a quote request, so we'll send you back the quote landed to your warehouse, and then you can make the decision at that time whether you want to pay and how you want to pay. So accept credit card, wire transfer, whatever. Yeah.
So when it comes to the shipping, so then let's say they buy 200 of this item, and they can expect the shipment to be right away. So you communicate that with the seller, and they would now have to ship that pretty quickly. I'm assuming it's on them to start.
Yeah. So, we work with the different fulfillment agencies or individual subscription boxes that hold the product, and basically we'll make sure that it gets shipped out and provide tracking when available. I wouldn't say plan for it. Like if you need we're a good solution for short turnaround time, but that probably if it's August 5th and you need product August 8th, you can't be flexible on that. Maybe not the best solution, but if you've got a week or two before you need it or something like that, definitely a good solution for that. But still, again, one of the biggest things I think people can do, it's always been our cadence, is plan ahead, order in advance. Even with this site, don't wait till the last minute. If it's July 26th today, which it is, you need product for August 10th, drop dead. Start looking now and be like, I want this, I want that, I want this. And keeping in mind some themes that may work for even September, October, November, etc., so that you can use this as a source, or even source elsewhere, or source with us from overseas if time permits. Definitely, using a combination of those solutions to build a really good curation model that works, that gets you product when you need it at the price that you're looking for, and without over ordering, which is key. Like, I can't stress that enough. Over ordering product is not a good thing. It's something that you want to avoid, just because it ties up cash flow that you could be using which is proves in the pudding why people are trying to sell it at less, in some cases less than they bought it for, just because they want to recoup some of that capital to reinvest elsewhere, whether that's in marketing, whether that's in maybe fulfillment, or whether it's in some campaign that they want to do, influencers, whatever. They can reinvest that money that they recoup elsewhere and try and keep growing their subscription box. So not a good thing to be sitting on inventory. So again, I encourage you, if you are sitting on inventory, to reach out to us. If it's over 100 units or so per SKU, a couple hundred units per SKU, reach out to us and see if it makes sense for us to list, and we'll try and move it for you and recoup some of that money to reinvest in your business. Our motto has been, since the beginning of building this company, we're not suppliers, we're partners in your business. So we want to be able to help you any which way you can, whether that's saving you on cost of goods so that you can then reinvest that into your business elsewhere, selling excess inventory to recoup cash, whatever it is. We try our best to kind of help with the longevity of your business. And there's reasons why we've been working with subscription boxes since day one of starting the company, that we're still working with today. So that's kind of been our motto since day one. So
cool. So there's a couple more things I want to get to just before we wrap up here, if you don't mind, Jake. But first, I just want to remind folks, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, make sure just to follow if you're on Spotify, it's a follow button. Just click the follow button. It kind of helps with the algorithm. And there's a little easy way to rate the podcast now as well. It takes literally seconds. You just click on the star and you can put, how many stars you think this podcast is worth to you. Appreciate always the 5-star reviews. Same thing with on Apple. It's just as easy if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts to rate and review and make sure you subscribe to the program. It helps. It just helps with the algorithms of the show to get in front of more people that are in the space. So thanks in advance for doing that. And of course, check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, like there. If you don't hit the bell button, it doesn't break my heart, but that helps as well. So, okay. So quickly, before we kind of wrap up here, I want to talk about just what you were saying. So let's say someone who's like, okay, I've kind of got all my boxes set up for the rest of 2022. I'm good till Q4, but this is also great. So if you're listening and you're like, well, I don't know if this is a fit, I think this is a great opportunity as well to maybe get kind of like, you're trying to look for like that Black Friday, or maybe it's a Christmas or the holiday specials to add a gift to your box. So if someone subscribes, you can have a gift. This is a great way to get these kind of things and really pay cheap on, like you said, 80 cents, 50 cents on the dollar, in some cases, where they can use this as a great way to have a promo in place, a sale in place for their stock as well. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. So if you're looking for maybe a Black Friday sale, like a flash sale, let's say, of a product that you think could work, you're going on here and you find something that, oh my God, I could sell hundreds of those. Reach out and get a quote. Maybe, that profit that you can sell on that product is higher than maybe other ones that you have in inventory yourself, or in some cases that you can purchase elsewhere. So
yep,
definitely a good opportunity for that, or as an add-on for a box. Like, I already have my September box. I don't need anything, or my December box. More importantly, I don't need anything. Maybe position something as a little gift that you can get. So you can wait until, maybe September, October to order it, but you can go on now and take a look and see what's available. No guarantees it'll still be available then, but, take a look and see if it makes sense for you to add as an add-on to your box as just a little thank you to your subscribers for a pretty insignificant price, in terms of, what you would be normally paying to manufacture or buy this elsewhere in some cases. So
yeah, totally. So what I'm thinking, even if like forecasting, so it's like I have a hard time forecasting because sometimes we get hundreds of new members a month, sometimes we're 50, whatever. So I think this is a great way. Like, okay, for my goal for November is to get 150 new members or 200 new members. Well, you can go on this statesidestock.com and find 200 of those items that okay, well, I want to move 200 boxes in November. Well, buy something that you can find that's going to have a high retail value that you can, show like the value of the gift is $40, $50 that you're going to buy at $3, $4, $5. And that way you can make some really good coin on that promo and give it as a free gift or whatnot. This was a great way, I think, without taking percentages off your box. With those types of things, move products when you have a really incredible offer, and you can use it to kind of like, once you run out of those 200 and you sell your 200 memberships, you can get something else and keep it fresh. So without having to go through the trouble of going overseas or whatnot, or manufacturing. Yeah. So I think those are great ways as well. Think outside the box. What other ways can you find good products that you can also move with part of your subscription? If like a lot of people already have their stuff kind of set for the Q4, but I know there's a lot of small companies who kind of have a really hard trouble forecasting and moving, figuring out inventory, that they go month to month almost. This is also a great solution in the meantime, as you kind of like, get your feet wet and you're getting your business under control and forecasting under control. This is a fantastic way to just specifically, you need 150, you need 350, whatever that number is for you. Go out there and check those kind of items.
For sure. And the one thing I'd say as well is, I kind of mentioned this one before with the scarf and the beanie example, but you may already have your stuff hopefully slotted out for going into fall now of what you want to do. And maybe in there that you want to do, some sort of a mug for Christmas, let's say, and you really wanted to do a blue teal mug. And you've got it lined up and it's going to cost you $6 a mug for 200-300 units, and you're there, you're good, you're excited. Maybe you go on and you see that there's, a pink mug that would work just as well. And, just out of curiosity, send in a price request to find out what that's going to be. Maybe it comes back at, again, I'm just using hypotheticals here. Maybe it comes back at $2. So you save $4 a mug on a few hundred units just to change the color. So I think that's one of the most important skills that a subscription box entrepreneur can have, specifically in curation, is flexibility. Like, the end consumer doesn't know that you had that teal mug planned out for them. They don't know that. So if you give them a pink mug that's just as good, and you save $4 in the meantime, and it works with your box, and it still conveys the same messaging, and it's on brand, you just kind of walked away with a pretty strong win there. And I think right now, with everything happening in the economy and in kind of the world, being able to be flexible has never been more important. So we're hoping that this does a little bit of that for just digging and kind of mining for opportunities to be able to save some money on cost of goods sold. So don't think of it as a fair necessarily, because again, I can't speak for them, but I think it's more of a wholesale price type of atmosphere that you're getting, or below wholesale, maybe depending on the quantity. This is kind of in some cases it will be slightly below wholesale, but in some cases slightly above liquidation prices. So the prices on here are going to be a little bit more competitive than some others. So in some cases, not all. There's a few items on there that are going to be a little bit more competitive.
I look at it like, especially with the shipping and like how it was last year during Q4. Like it was, some people didn't get their product in time and had to ship in January. It was a disaster for a lot of companies that I've spoken to. So I think this is a good way. Everything's already in North America. Everything's already here. Or if it's in the UK, potentially you can ask on your custom, your request if you guys have people in the UK, I'm assuming, or whatever there might be. But the product's already here. It's not overseas in China or whatnot. So it's here. You're gonna have a pretty safe window to get this stuff delivered in time, as long as you're giving it probably a few weeks kind of thing. Typically, things get moved around pretty quickly within North America here. So, that's kind of want to look. It's kind of like this is unfair, but it's kind of like a stateside Alibaba, if you will, where you're going to get some pretty competitive stuff in that sense at those kind of prices without the huge, customs and having to deal with all that, the worry of if you're going by sea to save, 4 months shipping times and stuff like that. But that's how I view it. If that makes any sense at all. I don't want to paint it unfairly, but if there's nothing else with that, I want to move just quickly for those who are, okay, this is all great. I'm going to use these products for certain things, but I also want to manufacture my own products. I want to have my own labels on my products. My dream is to have, my company name on my mug. I want to have my own saying on this pen or whatever it is they're going to make, a sock, a hat, a fitness, beauty product. There is a place for that as well that you guys do at yourprocurement.com. Again, procurement, MINT. Talk to us about that quickly, Jake, if you don't have a few minutes still. Manufacture your own stuff, versus why choose something like your procurement or procurement versus just doing it yourself through an Alibaba or one of those, multiple sites you can do it now with.
Yeah, well, I think number one reason is you're going to get a partner in the industry who understands the industry. Like, we basically exclusively work within the subscription box industry. We're tons of industry friends. We know a lot of people in the industry who can vouch for us. We've been doing it for quite some time and understand the pain points that small, mid, and large side boxes face when it comes to curation, which is where this stateside stock came from. But on the manufacturing side of things, the big difference is between, I can't tell you how many, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that have had this experience as well, of how many people have called us or talked to us and said, oh yeah, I've ordered off Alibaba before, and this is what happened. It was late. It was broken. It was, there was no information provided. I had to pay before it shipped, and it didn't even arrive, or whatever. There's been so many horror stories on there where it's a bit of a crapshoot whether or not you're actually going to get what you're hoping for. Now, that's not obviously a broad statement there, but it's not every supplier on Alibaba. That's obviously the business wouldn't exist if that was the case. But what we've done is basically over the past 6-7 years or whatever it's been now, we've basically, and I've been to China. Like, we've met with our key manufacturers overseas. They understand our business model just as much as we understand our clients' business model. So, we've really vetted out, multiple different vendors or suppliers across different categories that provide us really favorable pricing at various quantities. So if you're coming to us with a few hundred units or 500 or 1,000 units, let's say, you should hopefully get better pricing than going on Alibaba and asking a random supplier for 1,000 units, just because they're going to try and probably maximize price or, whatever or maximize profit, as it's more transactional. Whereas with us, it's more of a partnership. As I said, inherently with subscription box sourcing, we're hopefully sourcing stuff for you every month, every quarter, a few times a year. So we're not in it just to make a profit on one item. Like, we're trying to build a long-term relationship with you, which is what we've done over the years. So when it comes to that process, basically, definitely need more time to plan out, which is doable for sure. And if you ever have excess inventory, you throw it on the site as well, but it gives a bit of a solution to that issue as well. But basically you source maybe, like I said, about 5 or 6 months out in advance. You kind of know what the product is that you're looking for. You know, like roughly, okay, I want, maybe, I don't know, a sock, for example, or a beanie. I want a sock that has, maybe some blue on it, but I don't really know what I want it to look like. At that point, we can maybe source a sample with a generic design on it for you to kind of feel the quality of it. And then we can get into the specifics of the sample of the design that you want. You're at about 5 months out now, where we're getting that sample finalized and everything finished. 4 months out before you need it, give or take. Usually we can start the order now in bulk. So you have to know that rough quantity of what you want. And I personally don't think there's ever a problem with ordering to sell out. So if you undershoot a little bit, what a great problem to have, that you've sold out now and you're not holding excess inventory and people have some anticipation of waiting for the next box. At that point, start production. It should be done in about 45 days or so. You're at about, what am I now, 2.5, 3 months, give or take. Goes in by sea, usually, depending on the quantity of the item. And then that gets shipped out to you to arrive about 2 weeks before you need it. And that will give you some time to deal with any port delays or customs or whatever else you need to deal with, which is what we do, which are unavoidable. So don't let anybody ever tell you that, oh, I can make sure it avoids customs. You can't do that. You have to go through customs. It has to go through any port delays unless it's going by air, which there could be backlogs at airports. We navigate all of that for you. It's more than just, let's put it on a boat and see what happens. We make sure it goes to the right port at the right time. We use leading indicators in terms of information at certain ports to avoid delays. So for example, in the pandemic, if there was a delay in LA, we may ship through Vancouver to then ship down through the United States by train or by rail or by truck to limit some of the backlog there. So it may not cost you much more, but you're going to save the 3-4 weeks of delays that there were with backlogs with ships sitting out in the harbor for 2 weeks before they even berth. So we do all that in-house for you. We give you the best solution. And again, our pricing is all in to your door. So it includes shipping, tariffs, all these things. You don't need to look up an HS code. You don't need to look up any kind of information on tariffs. You don't need to look up labeling requirements, which is key. FDA requirements, other agencies that have any requirements to source a product. We make sure that's all compliant and there for you as well. And at the end of the day, we should be less expensive than other options. So it's kind of a win-win-win.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, in the end, like, you might go for it, try to do it yourself. It's not impossible. It's just, it's a lot. We're already tapped out sometimes. And by the time you end up, so here's the pros, right? Like the customs, the logistics, the manufacturing stuff. I think those are all big pros. Maybe the biggest one is that when you're dealing with something like your company, you're going to get a landed price. Like, that's it. This is the landed price. Okay, what's my sock going to cost me when it's at my door? Versus, okay, I found it. Hold on, Jake. I found it cheaper here, but they don't take into consideration of it. And I'm not saying you can't do it yourself. I'm just saying often people don't take it. They go to Alibaba.com and they'll see the sock for $1, but they don't take into consideration that's not the shipping yet. That's not the custom. So if you're just going through a generic UPS, you're going to get all of a sudden a call from a UPS or something like that saying, oh, by the way, we got your stuff here. We're holding it in Vancouver. It's going to cost you an additional, $200 or $100 or whatever. Oh, so there's all these unforeseen costs. And you're going to say, okay, because you didn't have something set up on your own side of things to get that through customs and the logistics of getting it right to your door. So by the time your $1 sock gets to your door, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying it's not going to be $1 anymore. There's going to be shipping, there's going to be tariffs, all these things put on top of it, right?
100%. And I mean, that's like, the good of the worst scenarios. Like, that's a bad scenario. Obviously now you've overpaid for something, or you didn't know how much it was going to cost or whatever. What's worse is when a product gets detained, which can happen. So I'll give a really simple example, which a lot of subscription boxes do, which is sunglasses. So sunglasses in the United States are an FDA regulated, or a product regulated by the FDA. There's some testing requirements. There's some registration requirements that are needed in order to import, manufacture, and warehouse, I think it's called, that product. So if you don't have FDA on sunglasses, by the manufacturer or yourself as importer, and it comes to the US port, they're going to call you and say, okay, great. Where's your drop ball test and your FDA certificate?
Drop ball test. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Drop ball test. And you're going to say, what? And they're going to say, yep, you need that, or these can't be imported. Now you've got a huge headache. Now it might only be for maybe a couple hundred units. So it's not the end of the world, but if you're doing a few thousand and you've got maybe $4 or $5 grand tied up in the inventory at the port, that's now basically not able to be imported unless you figure out a way to solve that problem, which is, believe me, a nightmare. You do not want to go down that road. I've heard horror stories of how to fix that, if it is even fixable. Nothing that we've personally done, is we're always making sure that we're compliant before import, but that's just something you don't want to go down. So, you know, you may think, oh, great, Alibaba sunglasses for 50 cents. Even if the supplier says, oh, I have FDA, there's more than that, believe me, that's required than just the supplier having FDA. You got to make sure the testing requirements are there, labeling requirements. You got to make sure that you've got the proper things stateside in order to import those compliantly. That are all things that U.S. Customs are going to look at. It's a very heavily regulated product, and it's not something that people think is regulated, because you can go buy a pair of cheap sunglasses at the dollar store, so it can't be regulated, but it is in the United States. So definitely something that you want to be aware of. And again, just contact us and ask us. We make sure all that stuff's done properly so that you don't have to worry about it. You know, and then for a Canadian example, just as a little bringing this back home, as I'm obviously located in Toronto, you're in Manitoba.
Yeah.
I believe it's called the Textile Labeling Act, requires that all labels entering Canada for textiles need to have the composition of the fabric, the country of origin, which is pretty standard, but it has to be in French and English. Now, the enforceability of this may not be as severe as others, but it is still a law that requires that things need to be imported with both French and English, regardless of where you're selling it. Even if you're selling it in Ontario, that's largely an English-speaking province, you still need to have that on there in French and English. So something that people often overlook. Again, you know, can they get through with it and get it away with it? Maybe, but it's not done compliantly. So it's not something that you should be taking a risk on, because it's a fairly easy fix. And that's just one example of many that we want to make sure you're fully compliant, so you don't have that horror story of UPS calling you and saying, hey, those 85-cent sunglasses you thought you got, you owe us an extra $1 on because you forgot to pay tariffs, or that shipping wasn't fully included, or didn't include Canadian tariffs or US tariffs on that. Or more severe is, hey, this isn't properly imported. You don't have the right documents to support this product for FDA clearance. Please provide that, and your jaw will drop and think, what are you talking about? And then you go back to the supplier, and they may or may not be able to help you. So
yeah.
No,
it's 100%. And I've even heard where UPS, they tried calling and they couldn't get a hold of the person or whatever, and then the UPS truck showed up at the door, and here's your 300 units of whatever, but here you got to pay an extra. Here's and it's not just signing; it's sign and pay, because they did clear it for you.
Yes.
But it's here's your $200 bill here. It's like, whoa, out of where? Like, this is crazy. So now you're another $1 on your per item, basically, right? So yeah, these things are, it's not to scare you. It's just, these are the reality of your business as it's going to grow. You're going to have these kind of things, and all to say, your procurement can take that off your hands for sure, and very affordably as well. Sometimes at the same rate you would have with you trying to negotiate your own prices, anyways. So they have the economy of scale, and sometimes it's something just like a fulfillment center can offset your shipping prices, a procurement center or service can offset those manufacturing prices as well. So if there's nothing else, Jake, thanks for doing this, man. I'm excited for what you guys are doing with the statesidestock.com, and looking forward to seeing that grow, because it's going to be a great way for people to kind of source products. And for people, with what you're doing at yourprocurement.com already, if you go there right off the bat, you're going to see it's like a subscription first. They talk about, they do this for subscription boxes. So this is right up your alley, folks. Check them out as well, right?
Yeah, and thanks again for having us on the show. I know it's always a good time to catch up. I know Michael's been on here a couple of times, and I was excited to jump on today and talk and kind of get to formally meet you. So very exciting, and I love what you do for the industry, and I think it's a great avenue for sub-box entrepreneurs and people who are thinking about getting into the industry to learn more about it, because I think there's not enough information out there. So.
Yeah, it's still pretty niche, right? So I think as it's still growing, but it's still a pretty niche thing. So thanks for having you. Like, we've been looking forward to having you for a long time. So now it's we've covered. Is there another co-founder there, or is it just you two?
Just us two.
There you go. So we've covered our bases here. Yeah. So make sure to if someone needs to get a hold of you guys personally, is there an email so people can reach you guys? That was the best way to connect with you guys.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. It is Jake at yourprocurement.com. So it's YOURPROCUREMINT. It'll be in the bottom there if you want to reach out .com. or go to our site. I think there's a contact at yourprocurement.com. There'll be a contact us page there, which you can send a form in. But yeah, we're usually pretty fast at responding. And there will eventually be a contact us on the stateside stock. Again, this is our very first. We're super excited that we're kind of able to launch this with you, Eric. This is our first kind of public appearance about the stateside stock. So it is still definitely a little bit of work in progress, but it is a working site. So go on there, check it out. We're excited that we were able to do this with you on this avenue. So, or this medium. So thanks for allowing us to do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's my pleasure. Like, love working with industry insiders and people that do great stuff for the industry that help out subscription blogging. In the end, like I wouldn't be having something that doesn't help you guys. So if you're listening to this, all the links are going to be in the show notes as well. So you can just go and click that as well. So thanks for doing this, Jake. Appreciate you, man. And take care and have a great rest of the summer in Toronto. I know yesterday, actually, I was thinking about this interview and I was having a Muskoka beer. That's from that's just north of Toronto, isn't it? Or around there?
It is, yeah. It's usually a couple hours away, but if you're going up on a Friday afternoon, it might be 5 hours with the traffic. So maybe not that long, but it's quite long.
That's brutal. It's a popular spot though. If you look at it, it's a great area. I had the old Tom something, old Mad Tom, or I don't know what it was. It was an IPA. It was good.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebrities up there. Apparently, I think Tom Hanks is in Muskoka, Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, or something. So it's a very like trendy little hidden gem in Ontario. So it's a very nice. Americans as well. Like I highly suggest going there. It's quite a stunning location. So
yeah, it's really cool. All right, man. Well, take care. Have a great rest of the summer, and we'll keep in touch.
Perfect. Thanks,
Cheers.
sir.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. All right, man. So thanks for doing that. That's great. Nothing really else to say. Like, I'm planning to probably have this out pretty quickly. Is there a specific date you guys would prefer for the launch, or is it something where whenever?
No, but now that I've kind of gone through that live with you, there are a few kinks on that site that we do need to fix. But I think we're still working on it actively to get some of those things that they're like to contact us and whatnot. But I think it's we're good whenever. Like, I mean, if you let me know when, I can make sure that we make those larger changes sooner, just to make sure that there's no major issues. So when were you thinking?
Well, I originally had it set. I'm just going to my a second here. I originally had it set for episode 237, which is set for September 6th, but I think that's too late. I think I'm going to move it up.
Yeah, sure.
I think I have a bit of a kink with, not a kink, but with the one that's supposed to be next week. So I could go like whatever. I can go like next Tuesday, the Tuesday after that. Like basically I have everything kind of I have a bunch recorded that are backlogged, but that are not specific to timing. If you guys wanted this out faster, I can go episode 233, 234, 235. It doesn't really matter. I can move it up that way.
I mean, next week should work. Let me just check with our team on that to make sure that they're going to be good for it. Because I noticed that there was a few things on there that I do need to change, just to make it a little bit more fluid. But MVP type thing, it should be good. But I want to try and make it at least so that people aren't running into like user issues on there. But I will. I'll confirm that, and I can send you an email. But next Tuesday or the following Tuesday should work. Maybe the following Tuesday is better, but I'll definitely confirm that and get back to you.
Okay. Sounds good. Let me know the exact date. And then, 234, that would be 234. That would be in like 2 weeks from today. That would work fine as well. So,
yeah, for sure. And how many people do you guys have on your, like, listeners you get on your podcast on all the kind of streaming platforms?
Well, we're over 100,000 like now total. So I don't know what that breaks up to. Like every episode, it depends. Like I found out very early, like it really depends on the listenership on like, if you're going to get thousands of listens or a couple hundred, it can dip on like the title, like people just like yourself, if you're looking for shows, right? Like, it really depends on how you're kind of like naming it. So right. That's why for this one, if you have any ideas, I'm open to it. I always tell that to the guy. Like I had this as breaking news, sourcing, manufacturing, white labeling, and more. But now we kind of talked about it. I think I might still keep the breaking news, but have it like something around like, I don't know. I'm gonna work on the wording there. The copy's key for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I mean, you're the first one that we've launched with in terms of like mentioning it publicly. So, and you probably be the first one that would be out with it as well. So if you want to be like, hear it here first, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not my, like, whatever marketing spin you want to put on it. But, Yeah, I feel the one thing I feel like I probably should have done a little bit better was maybe just mention it quicker at the beginning what it was, because I think we kind of danced around it. But I think if it's breaking news, maybe I should have mentioned it quicker. But either way, I don't know. You tell me, did that go well? You think that was good? Or
Yeah, I think it went well. Like the point is, like, it's a very conversational, like the show's become very much like long form conversation, and people kind of sit back and are listening to it, like, over a long period of time. So it's fine. Like, we get to it, and that's the main thing. So
yeah, they're listening to it in their car, or they're driving, or whatever.
that's right. Yeah. So, or they're packing boxes, they're working in their office, and it's in the background. Like, a lot of my listeners say that, right? Like, so it's long form. It's fine.
Cool. I'm excited. I think that should get some good viewers on there. I think we'll get, like, I think people know the name Procurement now, which is great for us, but I think people actually know the name. So hopefully they'll attend for that reason alone, just because they want to hear. Yeah. Maybe their vendor, we're working with them or whatever. They want to hear what we have to say, hopefully. So maybe drum up some new viewers for you guys as well. So
yeah, cool. Appreciate that. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks for doing this. And yeah, let me know exactly if it's a go for, say, let's kind of tentatively shoot for episode 234, which is in 2 weeks from today. Cool. If that's a go, and then I'll make that happen with my editor, and I'll move things around on the list there. So
that sounds good.
Okay, awesome, man.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Take care.
Appreciate it. Bye.